Welcome to another edition of Alpha New Jersey's Meet the Board. Really excited to have with us today our chapter president, Luis Rosado. Luis, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling ready, feeling blessed.
So those of you who may not know Luis wouldn't know that he is actually responsible from a recruitment perspective for a lot of the members that I've met on the board. He's one of these stealth, awesome recruiters, just his enthusiasm, his passion, and then he kind of pulls you in. And several years later, I'm like, oh, still working on the Alpha board and loving every moment of it. So definitely appreciative of all the encouragement and support Luis has given. So let's get to know you a little bit better, Luis. I've known you in various capacities over, different roles over different years. What would you say is the value that you bring to positions and roles you're in, no matter which organization or what particular title it happens to be?
Yeah, number one, I bring authenticity, right? And so that allows me to draw upon my strengths and my experiences and then to deliver that. So sometimes I get in trouble because I'm not as filtered or scripted, but it definitely always comes from a good place. And it's very powerful when you can try and bring authenticity, try to bring reality and vulnerability into a situation. So that's the main thing I try to bring. And I try to work more now on like humbleness. Sometimes I do have like, an ego, and I confront that as I grow as a leader and try and develop a humbleness and a sense of empathy for the people that we work with and who we work for.
What I find interesting when you mentioned the humility, and I find you to be a humble guy. Like, I don't find you to be too, too full of yourself, so to speak. But I'm curious to get your perspective. There's like that balance, right, between being humble and also having that kind of maybe ambition's not the right word, but that drive to accomplish things, right? Whether it's for the organization, society, and for your career as well. How have you sort of navigated, or how has your thoughts around that balance evolved over the years? Because I think for a lot of people, it's a little tricky. They feel like they have to be one or the other.
Yeah, well, what I've seen is that if you go too far in one direction, you'll get automatic course correction. So sometimes if I get too braggadocio or too prideful or too egotistical, something will quickly humble me, and then I'll be operating from a space of humbleness. But then as I stay humble for a while, I start to realize that I'm actually greater than what I'm giving myself credit for. And then I kind of sway back to the other side. So as I'm always kind of like teetotaling between ultimate confidence and just like ultimate humility, depending on, what the situations are. But again, I always try to make sure I operate with empathy to make sure that I'm in tune with what people are going through and try to give them support to reach their potential.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, among you and I have had the chance through our roles to speak to a lot of executives and leaders. And one thing I've noticed is this kind of attitude that that they really believe that they could do what they ended up doing, right? Like they had that belief. They weren't there yet. No one, maybe not no one, but not a lot of people expected them to do it, but they certainly had that belief that eventually they would get there, and now they're there.
Oh yeah, totally. And I guess I'm like one of those people, that just constantly keep climbing and trying. I keep falling, I keep learning, but I keep on trying. And that's the main thing, is that, you keep getting up, you keep trying, you keep doing events, you keep putting yourself out there, and something eventually is going to work out. And even when it doesn't work out, you learn, you grow, and that's what experience is, right? So, I've been on this board now for, I don't know, 5-6 years, right? So I've seen a lot of good stuff. I've also seen a lot of failures. And so what we're trying to do this year is bring the best of what we've learned over these years to make it the best year ever for this board.
Yeah, I mean, the energy on the board, I can tell from the last few meetings I've attended, is very high. So I'm certainly excited to see what comes. So let me ask another question about you. For folks who don't know you as well, or maybe are going to get to know you this year, what do you wish more people knew about you?
Yeah, it's interesting because typically in the workplace, I come across, or I try to aim to come across, pretty polished, right? And so people are typically surprised when they find that, I come from a very humble background, growing up in the project, single mother household in New York City. So, I struggled a lot. So a lot of people are sometimes surprised by that, by the way I handle myself or the way I appear. So I think that's like a surprise. And if for some of them, they relate to that, they understand that struggle. And so we make a good connection. Other people, maybe they didn't experience that, but they could understand the struggle. And that's in a way that's how we connect.
I feel like this circles back to a previous comment you made about your authenticity, right? You're polished, but you're certainly not hiding who you are. And to your point, sometimes people connect on the thing that, that may be different about you. That's actually a very powerful point of connection in some instances.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like you said, I mean, some people misinterpret too because of the authenticity and where I come from. They misinterpret it, right? And then I have to set them straight, like, hey, don't forget, I do have an MBA in management and strategy. I did go to a prestigious prep school. I do have multiple technical certifications. I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world. I've been through multiple leadership development programs, right? And I've always been like an honor student. So, my language or my mannerism may not be, the typical, whatever, but it still comes from a place that should be respected.
Yeah, and I feel like you're a living example of what we're going through now, which is companies realizing the power of diversity and then they want more of it. But what does that actually mean, right? Like, do I only get to be as diverse as you're comfortable with me being? Because that's not really diversity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head, and I think companies are starting to realize that they have to start to embrace people no matter how they look, dress, speak, mannerism. Um, you can't judge people by that. There's a lot of amazing talent out there. And, if companies want to benefit from that, they're going to have to start to embrace that and let people come as they are. And I think more and more companies are starting to realize that. And like you said, the key with diversity is you're going to get ideas and concepts from left field, from outer space, something like you would have never even imagined possible could come out of someone's ideas, right? I spend a lot of times in projects too, and there'd be times I'm talking to people in projects. I'm like, yo, that's a smart dude right there. I'm like, that's actually a pretty brilliant suggestion. I didn't even think about that. And then you apply that to business, and the next thing you know, you're able to like do something completely different that just corners your competition because they're surrounded by the same thoughts, and you came with something out of left field. Like I know a lot of like law enforcement agencies are now, especially prestigious law enforcement agencies, are starting to consider. You're like, you know what, maybe not everyone needs to be coming from a Ivy League prep school in order to be an analyst here. Maybe we need people who grew up in different neighborhoods because they're going to have different perspectives. So I could go on and on and on with this, but thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about law enforcement. I know a lot of organizations as well are wondering how strict they need to be with the requirement of a college degree, right? Because sometimes that's going to box out otherwise talented, intelligent, creative people who, through reasons not of their intelligence, but maybe socioeconomic reasons, maybe health reasons, weren't able to finish that degree. That doesn't make them less capable necessarily than people who have four-year degrees.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one thing I love about diversity is when you get a group of people together and you get all these different ideas. I mean, you see that with the board, right? People come with ideas from left field, and you're like, holy smokes, I would have never ever imagined that as a potential possibility. And so, as a leader, it's really critical to be open to those suggestions that may be counter to what you might have preconceived, right? But it's a brilliant idea. And if you open your mind to it, you can capitalize. So yeah, that's what we do. And that's why, with this board, it's a great opportunity for people who may be interested if they want to get exposure to like different viewpoints and learn how to operate. We bring out the best in people and we get the best ideas.
Yeah, and I think what you're calling out makes work or collaboration more fun, makes it more enjoyable, right? Who likes to offer out an idea and everyone's like, ah, oh, you're terrible, boo. You're never going to offer another idea again, no matter how brilliant it is. You're just like, well, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut,
Absolutely. We try to foster an environment, if you're on the board, your voice counts, right? It's up to you to use it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about the board a little bit. I've known you in your capacity as vice president. Joanna, the previous president, amazing, did a great job with her leadership, and you supported her as vice president. Now you've stepped up into the president role. Tell us a little bit about your perspective going forward into this next year and how you see the role developing.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely been a nice journey coming in, starting off as a member, building up, joining, I was VP of events. Then I did marketing, communications. Then I became EVP of overall. And then now finally to be president. It's just a great opportunity because now I'm in a great position to help address many of the challenges that I saw coming up. And I want to make sure that we open up opportunities for people. And so we're going to be driving heavily on providing events for networking, building connections, development. And we're going to go to the max. We're going to do as many events as we can possible, whether it's in person or virtual. So we're just going to be trying to make impact, constantly. And we want to show gratitude to our partners, right? So they invest in us, they get their confidence in us, they give us funds. And so we want to thank them by doing an awesome job with what they've entrusted us with.
Yeah. What I love when you mentioned all the different roles that you were in, and those weren't all necessarily things related to maybe what you do for your day job. So you had the opportunity to really learn and stretch yourself and see lots of different things that I imagine are really going to help you in your current role overseeing the organization or the New Jersey chapter.
Oh, it's so amazing. I mean, this is such a great development program. Basically, you come in there, you do whatever you want to do. You could be who you want to be. You can grow, try out new things. You're going to learn new skills. I learned stuff that I'm using now that I learned 3 years ago on the board, right? And I always challenge people that we all have time, right? We work, and then you got your free time, and you can use that for leisure, entertainment, recreation, or whatever. Or you could also use that for, extreme development. And that's what this is, right? We do our job, and then now it's like you put on a cape and you turn into someone else. And now you're on a board. Now you're an executive. Now you're doing something you don't get to do at your day job. So it's an amazing opportunity. And one thing I would say too is a lot of people, a lot of people work for Fortune 500 companies, large private enterprises, and you may not be the ultimate decision maker there. You might not control a huge budget there, right? You might not manage a whole bunch of people there, but you could do that here on the board, right? You could come here, you could be an executive, you could focus on strategy, you could do budgeting, you could impact hundreds of lives, right? And it's up to you. So we give that opportunity to people to evolve beyond their normal job.
Yeah, and what you're saying is resonating so much with me, and partially because sometimes people want to do career shifts, right? It's like that whole thing, like you can't get a job as a server unless you have experience as a server. So how are you going to get the job, right? Well, through an organization like Alpha, you get the chance to try on different hats and do different things in a supportive, safe environment with other professionals supporting you and get that experience. So now you can say, boom, I've been managing, events or marketing for 2 years for an organization with thousands of members. And we did all these events. And now that can really help you transition.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could fail all day on the board, fail all day. If you keep failing, when it's time for jobs and stuff, you would already got all those failures out the way. So when you go for that interview or go to do it in your real job, you've got some of that background now. When I first came here, I really never had any experience with events. And that's one thing I always wanted. I was like, man, I'm always impressed by people who could do events. I want to learn that. And that's what I started doing. I was always impressed with people who could do marketing and send out the emails. And that's what I did. So I developed those skills and started adding it on. Right. So, yeah, this is a great playground for you to test out different things.
So I'm questioning whether the slogan idea you just gave to me, since I'm doing marketing this year, is genius or a disaster. You could fail all day with Alpha New Jersey.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, if I could get personal for just a moment, what is something that not a lot of people do know about you, but that you're willing to share with us today?
A lot of people that they don't know about me. I would say I guess is what I had said earlier, which is like where I came from, growing up in the projects and living that kind of life, and always striving to make something better. And so I would say it's probably the humble beginnings that I come from. That's something that a lot of people don't know until they get to know me. Then they find out. So that's always at the core of my identity. Those experiences.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because in a way, it can be a real great connector, but depending on how open-minded people are, it can actually work the opposite way as well. So it's kind of that balancing act and getting to know people, and when do you share what you share? It's not like anything else, it requires judgment, right? It requires professional judgment. You don't walk into a situation and just say whatever you want because you feel like saying it. You have to understand the situation and the context.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great, great. Well, I'm curious to hear about what you're excited about that's coming up. I know we have a bunch of different things on the go. Maybe you could share a little bit about things that are top of mind for you that maybe others who are listening might be interested to hear about.
Yeah, we're definitely excited about a couple of leadership summits we got coming up. Leadership is something dear and near to my heart, especially as I got the privilege to be in a number of leadership programs. It opened up my eyes as to what we need to be sharing with the rest of our members, right? A couple of principles here and there could change a lot for each person. So we're going to focus a lot on leadership lessons and skills and secrets, things that you don't really get to hear or find out unless you're in the room. So we're going to be kind of like exposing all of those gems. So we got some leadership stuff for professionals, for students. We're going to have some experiential type of programs with some of our partners. We might be in their store, right? Or in the office. We have to see how things open up. If not, we'll be outdoors. So we want to have some premium things, right? Premium venues, premium experiences, premium food, premium signage, so the place looks nice. We want our members to be inspired and to dream about a better life. So that's something we're going to be focusing on.
Yeah, I love where you're going with that too. Just sort of being able to visualize and really kind of have that feeling of exceptionalism and just thriving, right? For lack of a better word, just thriving in 2022, despite all the crap that's been going on for the last couple of years with COVID and all the challenges. Just still being able to find a way to be resilient and thrive is so important. And I think our membership is some of the most resilient in the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and we're going to be, when I talk with some of like the younger members, a lot of times they're looking for mentors, role models, people that they could talk to that relate to them. And that's something we're going to be providing, right, with our coaching and mentoring program. Highly successful. We're going to be expanding that out. We have to bridge that. We have to bridge that wisdom, that leadership, that insights, right? We can't just keep it to ourselves and make money by us say, I'm just going to do it for me. No, we have to like share that out and multiply it out so that we can take from one person, it's going to move to 100 people, then 1,000 people, 20,000 people, right? And we're making like multi-generational impact. Quick example, we did an event for a partner and we had some students show up and one board member showed up and she didn't have to show up, right? The students, they didn't have to show up. We didn't have to do the event, but we did it. We could have canceled. We did it. And now she's got an opportunity to speak at this college for an event in the spring. Would have never happened if we didn't put ourselves out there and make this event occur, right? So that's just an example of like impacts that we make. Who knows what's going to happen after that event when they're speaking? You never know, right?
Yeah, it's the power of showing up and just, engaging and connecting with people and just seeing where that takes you. It's so powerful.
Oh, we change lives. Every Alpha event, somebody's life is changing. I guarantee you that somebody's life is changing.
Amazing. Well, Luis, it's been a wonderful ride since you and I have been working together and continue to work together. I really look forward to your leadership this year as president of the chapter. So excited to continue to serve with you and all the excellent members of the board. If there's anything you'd like to share with our membership as we sign off, just as encouragement heading into 2022.
Yeah, I would say definitely come to our events. Listen to the Sweet podcast that you've been expertly managing, and yeah, come to our events because, like I said, somebody's life is going to change at every Alpha event. We're going to make sure of that.
Thanks, Luis, and looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the board and our members at our next event.
Take care.